Jaden was taken aback for a second, then calmly said, "You're right. Sorry. I'll back off. Being the third wheel all this time hasn't gotten me any info on Mike's dad anyway." He really was laying low, and maybe Mike didn't even know anything about what his father was doing. The FBI might need to find another way to approach this investigation. Little did Jaden know, Jasmine had become an unexpected factor in his investigation plan. After that time, Jasmine and Mike had private dates, just the two of them, but they left Jasmine feeling more and more distant from him. Why does this wig have to be so long? And these freaking shoes! Why do girls want to torture themselves with these things? Jasmine thought about the last time she was with Jaden, how she could just remove the stupid heels and enjoy being carried by him. But of course, that could never happen in front of Mike. Jaden has kept his promise and leaves us two alone, but why do I feel like something is missing? You look really beautiful today. That necklace is divine. Yeah, I got it from my dad's antique cabinet this morning. Guess it once belonged to some ancient Egyptian queen. My dad has a bunch of these. Oh, really? How come? Well, he developed a very deep passion for collecting antiques and has filled our whole house with all kinds of stuff. Interesting. Just then, Mike knew exactly what to do with rich and naive Jasmine while she's still totally oblivious to it. That night, Jasmine struggled to fall asleep. She wondered how Jaden could just disappear into thin air like that. Fine, don't let me see you again. I'll make you watch me eat 10 buckets of fried chicken and then force you to run 10 laps while carrying me. Jasmine didn't realize, however, that behind her inexplicable frustration toward Jaden, she actually missed him. The next day, as soon as Jasmine arrived at school, Mike approached her urgently. Have I mentioned that I'm turning 16 this weekend? No, you haven't. Any special plans for your big day then? Yes, actually. That's why I came to find you. I wanted to make sure you had enough time to put together the most stunning outfit, 'cause I'd like you to meet my father there. You must make a good impression on him. Wow. I'm gonna need to think about it, okay? After that, Jasmine looked everywhere for Jaden but couldn't find any trace of him. Jaden, where on earth have you been? That evening, while Jaden was discussing the current situation with his partner, he was surprised to see Jasmine's figure at the door. How did she find her way here? How dare you go AWOL for the past few days? Do you realize how many excuses I needed to give the student supervisor just to get your address? Then Jasmine began to tell Jaden about her latest date with Mike, how she felt that Mike was not the right match for her, and that Mike wanted to introduce her to his father at Mike's birthday party. I think I need to break things off before any family gets involved. However, after the FBI team hit a dead end because they couldn't get any intel, Jaden realized this party was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for them to catch the thief. Wait, you can't give up so soon. You were so determined to win Mike over before. Don't just dump him over cold feet. At least wait until after the party to make your decision. Yeah, you're right. I'll go to the party. After that, Jasmine left. She was trying not to feel the sadness building inside her, but the night that she and Jaden nearly kissed played on repeat in her head. Would things be different if I just confessed my feelings to Jaden? I should let him know how I feel about him. So Jasmine headed back to Jaden's place. When she was almost there, she saw him seeing someone off. Huh? There was another person at his house? Why didn't I see him just then? Jasmine quickly hid behind a wall, out of sight. That party is surely our golden ticket. And we thought you going undercover as Jaden and giving that dude a makeover was all in vain. He's a she. And her name is Jasmine. Oh, did someone catch feelings? Don't forget that you're an FBI agent, James. Jaden, that is. Jasmine couldn't believe what she just heard and saw. When the man left, she stormed right over to Jaden. When were you going to tell me about your double life, James? I wish I could tell you everything, but I really can't. But I won't deny what you did here. I'm an FBI agent, and I've been undercover as a high school student to follow Mike. Jasmine, please listen to me. I'll tell you everything when the right time comes. So I was just a tool that you used to get closer to Mike. And since that didn't work, you're done with me? No, that's not. And why Mike? What do you need from him? I can't tell you anything else right now. But please just be careful around him, okay? He's not as nice as he tries to seem. I'm going to send FBI agents to keep an eye on you at the party. No, you will not. You won't do anything because you and the FBI are going to leave me alone. Jasmine, please. As much as it hurt to look at him again, Jasmine turned back around. My friends call me Gucci, but I guess you wouldn't know. While Jasmine was still mad at Jaden, she couldn't help questioning why the FBI had to send people to follow Mike. Suddenly, she remembered the overheard conversation. "That party was surely our golden ticket, and we thought you going undercover as Jaden and giving that dude a makeover was all in vain." Maybe I could find the answer at Mike's birthday party. In the following days, Jaden relentlessly tried in every way to make amends with Jasmine. He messaged her on every social platform, from Facebook to Instagram to Twitter, and she blocked him on each one. He flew paper planes that read, "I'm sorry," into Jasmine's room, but she just stared coldly at him through the window while tearing the planes all up and throwing them in the trash. One morning, Jasmine woke up and even found a dove delivering Jaden's apology letter, but she completely ignored it still. Mike's birthday party finally came. Why do I feel so unsettled? Maybe it was because of Gary's hamburger this afternoon? Meanwhile, Mike was also lost in his own thoughts. Will Dad be able to get on with the plan? I wonder what disguise he'll show up in. Right then, Tiffany approached them. "Mike, I have a present for you." Mike opened the envelope to find pictures of Jasmine from when she was a tomboy. "I just wanted to remind you of the person you're really dating." I don't care about who she was before, because I love who she is now. My amazing girlfriend. Jasmine felt partly appreciative of Mike's feelings for her, but she was also exhausted from the pressure of trying to be someone she wasn't. "If only you knew that this isn't the real me." As they walked away, Mike leaned in close and whispered in Jasmine's ear, "Let's go meet my dad. Privately." Jasmine followed Mike to the rooftop, but she saw nobody when they got there. "Where is he?" "Just be patient. He always shows up on time." At that moment, a kind-looking old man appeared. Jasmine looked around in confusion, wondering where he had come from. Before she could introduce herself, he started to speak. "So you must be the lovely Jasmine. Mike has told me so much about you. I heard your father is a famous collector of antiquities." Yes. You know my dad?" "I know he has something that's truly coveted." Jasmine had no idea what he was talking about. She turned to Mike and saw him mouthing, "It's you. Come here, girl. I have a gift for you. A diamond ring that's perfect for your delicate hands." Jasmine hesitated, but somehow she found herself slowly reaching out her hand. Just before her hand could reach his, there was a rustling sound. "Rat!" Suddenly, there was a loud explosion and smoke filled the air. Jasmine fell to the ground, unconscious. Jaden rushed in and saw Mike's father disappear into the smoke as they fled. His head told him to chase them, but seeing Jasmine lying on the ground, he immediately ran to Jasmine and carried her out of there. Jasmine woke up and saw her dad and 3 brothers anxiously standing around. Through their accounts, she knew that an anonymous message had been sent to her father last night, demanding he hand over a precious necklace in exchange for Jasmine. The police confirmed that the sender of that threatening message is a career thief. But I wonder how he knew our family had that necklace. Jasmine recalled wearing that necklace to see Mike and revealing to him that her dad was an antique collector. Could that very thief be? Remember, he's been doing this for a long time. They call him the Phantom Thief. Surely he has a talent for sniffing out valuable items and evading the police. Unfortunately, it's the same this time. Actually, that young police officer could have caught him, but he chose to save your sister. Our family owes him big time. Is that young police officer Jaden? Later, Jaden came to visit Jasmine at the hospital. "Can you tell me the truth now? Is the FBI chasing a career criminal who is none other than Mike's dad?" "You're right, because he works in mysterious ways. I had to approach him through his son, Mike." "So why didn't you arrest him when you had the chance? Weren't you just waiting for that moment?" Because you were in danger. At that moment, I could only think about getting to you." "All right, I'll give you that one. Can you tell me what you found out? Maybe I can help." Then Jaden told Jasmine that through spying on Mike, he discovered that Mike was his father's informant. Mike would scour rich girls, then point out the targets to his father who'd steal their valuables. That's why Mike had targeted Tiffany before, but as soon as he learned she was a fake rich girl and Jasmine was the real deal, he switched his focus to Jasmine. "I am so sorry I kept the truth from you for so long. I really care about you, and I was trying to keep you from getting hurt, and you did anyway. I'm sorry. I hope you can forgive me." "You did save my life after all. I think we can call it square." "So, what's our next move then?" "I really don't know." "I might have an idea." Elsewhere, Mike and his dad were scheming. "I didn't expect that sissy Jaden to be in the FBI. Don't worry, I know how to deal with him." The next day, reports of an antique auction flooded the news. A once-in-a-lifetime exhibition, all from one man's private collection, will be auctioned to the highest bidder. The collection includes antiquities from all over the world, including a necklace said to belong to Cleopatra. Its estimated value is over $100 billion. The streets were also plastered with billboards and banners about that auction. In the evening of the auction, all VIPs of the upper class gathered in the hotel's main lobby to prepare for the big event. In addition, hundreds of security guards and police officers were hired to guard the auction jewelry 24/7. Before the start of the auction, Jasmine's dad gave a welcome speech to all the guests. Ladies and gentlemen, I am honored to welcome you all to today's event. As you know, I collect antiques as a hobby, so to share some of the joy this collection has brought me, the profits from today's auction will be donated to the orphanage. Sir, is it true that Cleopatra's necklace will also be auctioned today? That's right. However, it's not here. It's currently being kept in a very secure place that even a mosquito couldn't get through, and will be presented during the final round. Aren't you afraid that the Phantom Thief, Master of Disguise, will steal it? Well, he can certainly try me. The whole crowd burst into laughter. Without knowing, from a corner, an elegant lady was watching them all with a smirk on her face. At 9 o'clock sharp, while the sounds of the auction echoed through the hotel's halls, someone in a black shirt and wearing a backpack appeared at the door, trying to put a key in the lock. Freeze! Hands over your head! Busted, you thief! I'm not... In the lobby, chaos reigned after it became known that the Phantom Thief had approached the treasure. Jasmine was extremely nervous too. Before long, a police officer went onto the stage. Please don't worry, the thief was apprehended by the police while trying to open the door. The auction will continue as scheduled. Everyone felt relieved, and the room erupted into applause. At that moment, the elegant yet mysterious lady walked toward the elevator quietly, heading to the penthouse. She then swiftly snuck into the room and retrieved the necklace with ease. Those stupid cops must be bringing that fool down to the station right now. She then put the box into her bag and left the room. Suddenly, an old janitor bumped into her. I'm terribly sorry, miss. The elegant lady grumbled, then used the emergency exit to rush up to the rooftop. On the roof, a helicopter was already waiting, with Mike inside. Mike's dad quickly gave him the necklace. Just when the helicopter took off, policemen came rushing to catch him. We finally got you weasel! Ha ha! I've still got the necklace. I win again, you fools. Oh, you mean this necklace? What? How could you? It turned out that Jaden had swapped the box when they bumped into each other in the hall. Upon this admission, in the helicopter, Mike eagerly opened the box, which turned out to be just a jumping jack toy. No! After the police took Mike's dad away, Jasmine and her dad rushed to Jaden. Thank you so much for saving my daughter and still catching the thief.
Thank you for all your help. We couldn't have caught him if you didn't fabricate this event.
This whole thing was Jasmine's idea, and the event itself was fake. All the antiques auctioned tonight were real, and those proceeds will still go to charity. We did it! You're right. We did it. Whatever happened with the other thief who got caught earlier? Oh, he was hired to distract the FBI, but we knew from the start he wasn't our thief. Luckily, the arrest announcement was just the thing we needed to get Mike's dad to make his move and to make him think he was going to get away with it. Now I just need to know how you switched those boxes so smoothly. Are you a magician too? Nope, I'm just me. The next day, Jaden finally had some time alone with Jasmine, and it was finally time to tell her the rest of everything. It might not be my place to say, but I understand how you've been feeling. Trying to be someone? Heck, it's my job. But it's not your job to change to make other people like you. The right people are the ones who love you for who you really are. People like, me. Jasmine was touched. She had so many things she wanted to say, but she was simply speechless. She turned to Jaden, and upon seeing just his side profile, she blushed. Are you okay? Jasmine was going to respond, but she hiccuped again.
I think I know what to do.
It's not here. Not there either. Where can it be? It's not just any shirt. It's my most prized possession. It has Kendall Jenner, my idol's autograph on it. Frenny, your t-shirt was dirty, so I cleaned it for you. Come have a look. Oh, snap. I rushed over to see my precious shirt neatly piled on top of the fresh laundry. No. The autograph's completely gone. Grandma! That's right, the person responsible for this unwanted blank shirt is my grandma, who just moved in with us after Granddad passed away. At first, it seemed exciting because my memories about Grandma were all from my happy childhood with her. But now I'm taking it back. She's a literal disaster. You know what? She is getting on in years, but still wants to learn to use social media. My mom even bought her a brand new iPhone 14. Meanwhile, her dear daughter was stuck with this lame iPhone 8. Honestly, all she needed was just one of those brick phones that can only take calls. With her forgetfulness, she'll forget all her passwords. So it's best to just log in with my iCloud. After all, this phone will become mine anyway. Oh, that's quite a handsome young man. You think so too? Indeed, Josh's attractiveness is second to none. He's every girl's dream man. And yours as well, right? As if I stood a chance. He's notoriously cold, and none of the girls from school seem to interest him. Well, that probably was the only time we shared the same thought. Otherwise, we're always arguing about all kinds of things, especially the way I dress. She didn't even bother asking me before sewing up all my favorite ripped jeans, and then left a dress that she'd made on my bed with a note. This adorable dress will suit you much better. I used to love her handmade dresses when I was 5, but who even wears anything like this these days? That's not all. She nagged me all the time for straightening my hair instead of keeping it naturally frizzy, since it's supposedly cuter. And guess what? It's actually her who I'd inherited my natural hair from. Bet she didn't know it was the reason I had to grow up with my classmates saying stuff like, "You're actually quite pretty, but it's a shame about the hair." And, "How come you don't have straight hair like your parents? Are you adopted?" Those hurtful words made me hate my hair with a passion and wish for beautiful, smooth, straight hair, like Kendall Jenner's. So of course, I'll keep straightening it every day, no matter what Grandma says. Thankfully, those complaints will finally come to an end tomorrow, as I'm going back to school after summer break. Yay! Huh? What's everyone buzzing about? At that moment, the teacher walked in and announced that our class will have a very special new student. And then a very familiar figure entered my class. It was my grandma? What on earth? Did she get lost on her way to bingo or what? How humiliating. Maybe if I stayed deadly still, she wouldn't spot me, and no one would know it was my granny. Oh, my sweetie pie, you forgot your orange juice. All eyes were on me. Good grief. Someone help me disappear from this planet, please. After class, I had to sneak out as fast as I could to avoid having lunch with my grandma. But my best friend Lloyd wouldn't quit teasing me. Suddenly, I heard someone laughing loudly across the room. Grandma? But who was she sitting with? Wow, Jose has quite a peculiar taste in women. He ignores every single girl in this school, but is now completely smitten over your granny. Jeez, why is she bothering him? Jose must have felt uncomfortable. I quickly went over there, apologized, and pulled my grandma away. On the way home from school, my grandma recounted her day just like a little kid would. Do you know that they have vending machines in the hallway with all kinds of snacks? That's genius! And oh my, the campus is big. I almost wet myself while searching for the restroom. Tell me which part of this is funny again? It only proves that someone her age belongs in a nursing home, not a high school. I needed to talk to Mom, so when she was finally alone in the kitchen, I immediately asked her, how exactly did Grandma end up in my class? It turned out that when my parents invited Grandma to live with us, she told them she would, but only if she could go to school. I think it's a lovely idea. It means she won't be lonely at home all day, as you'll keep her company. Besides, she spent her whole life taking care of our family, so it's our turn to look after her, right? Yeah, I suppose Mom raised some valid points, but who knew that Grandma could turn my school life upside down like this? She clung to me all day, ate whatever I ate, listened to the music I listened to, and even hung out with my friends. Worse still, she told them all embarrassing childhood stories about me. How I used to eat toothpaste because the ad said it was edible, and how I incubated eggs myself to see if I could hatch a chick. But that's not the worst part. She broke my hair straightener, so now I'm stuck wearing this stupid hat. How annoying. Hey, breaking news! What is it this time? Jose has found the girl of his dreams, and she's here at our school. No way! No girls have caught his eye before. Why now? Franny! What on earth? I looked down and, oops, I just accidentally turned him into Sully from Monsters, Inc. Sorry, my bad. Okay, let me see. As Lloyd told me, this was the girl Jose got to know through Tinder before she mysteriously vanished. Moore, 17 years old, goes to my school and... Wait, she only has this picture? All I could see was her frizzy brown hair. Out of nowhere, someone snatched my hat. That must be Lloyd trying to get back at me for the paint job earlier. I tried to grumble at him, but only saw Grandma with my hat in her hand. "Franny, your hair is so beautiful. Why cover it up? And also, these clothes. The dress I made for you goes far better with your hair." Enough! There's no way I'd let anyone see me with this hideous hair and granny outfit. Please, Grandma, leave me alone and don't cause me any more trouble. This is my school, and having you around is embarrassing. She looked shocked and was about to say something, but just left without another word. So, it's been a week since we last talked. It seemed that I was no longer her concern as she made new friends. So it's good for both of us, right? Suddenly, I heard a deep voice behind me. "Hi, Franny. Can I talk to you about something?" Wait, this voice? I immediately turned around to see Joe standing there, smiling at me. Oh my, this is the first time Joe's ever asked to speak to a girl. All the envious eyes are on me. I'm the luckiest girl here. Has he finally seen my unique charm? The thing is, I happened to see your curly hair the other day, and you look quite like the girl in the picture. I wonder if you are... Oh, he didn't come here because of me. Sorry, but I'm not Moore. I could see the disappointment on his face. He apologized for getting the wrong person, but before leaving, he smiled and told me, "By the way, you're pretty with that curly hair." Really? That frizzy hair that I've gone out of my way to hide? Can't believe someone out there, besides Granny, actually likes it. A few days later, I arrived at school to a frightening scene. Jose was hand in hand with Amy. Turns out she had come forwards as the mysterious girl. Let's see, 17? Check. Curly brown hair? Check. And her last name is Moore. There's no mistaking it. But I kept wondering, what does Jose like about this notorious wild girl? Her clique, which now included my dear Granny, are always playing dumb tricks for attention. Look, she's no different from a traffic light now that she's friends with them. Once, their group even turned the library into a runway. Obviously, this quickly reached the supervisor, but, well, only my grandma was slow enough to get caught. Thanks to that, she received a ticket to the principal's office and they called in my mom. Don't you find it ridiculous that a person this age is still getting scolded by the principal? School is not the place for Grandma at all. Performing art requires a bold personality, girl. I might be old, but my spirit remains youthful. You know what? I'm going to participate in the Rise to Fame contest as well. I think I may just win. I turned to my mother with begging eyes, but only received a forced smile and a just let her do what she wants. You'll lose anyway. Why bother? How about you sign up too, and we'll see who wins? Ha! Fine. Challenge accepted. I'll defeat you easily, Granny. Just wait and see. Finally, Rise to Fame, my school's annual competition, arrived. Each team of 3 will participate in different rounds, with the 2 best teams going to the final. First round, handball was a piece of cake for us. Having 2 sporty types on the team helped with that. As for Granny's team, which consisted of herself, Jose, and Dolly Amy, they were eliminated almost immediately. After sports was a Sudoku round. Each team will compete against one another. Whoever solves the puzzle first wins, which should be a breeze because I used to spend rain-filled afternoons playing this game with Granny as a kid. On the other hand, Amy was complaining to the organizing committee that this round was a joke, since Sudoku was so outdated. The more she talked, the more it showed that she's terrible at math and numbers. So it'll be like taking candy from a baby, right? But I forgot Granny was on their team, and unexpectedly, Jose was also very quick-witted. It didn't take them long to solve such a difficult puzzle. Seeing them hugging and celebrating pissed me off. Losing to them by a mere second was the real stinger. Focus, Franny. We had to beat them in the Countries and Histories round to win. Just a few more minutes till the final round. I was about to leave the waiting room when suddenly I heard a ding coming from this phone left on the chair. It's Grandma's phone. But wait, she knows how to use Tinder? Curious, I opened it and on the screen were all the messages from Jose and the mysterious Moore. Why does Grandma have this account? And why is Jose convinced Amy isn't who he's looking for? I immediately went to look for my grandma and found her in the corner of the stage wing. But as I approached her, she pulled my hand in and signaled for me to keep silent. I thought you let that annoying old hag join the team as a joke. Who knew she'd be so helpful? You'll win easily. Yeah, right? I even heard that history is her strength. I just need her to finish this last round, then I'll kick her out in a heartbeat. The whole group burst out laughing. I nervously turned to look at Granny, but she didn't show any sign of anger. So what will my grandma do next, you ask? As soon as the final round began, she stood up, took the mic, and announced, I want to withdraw from the competition because I will never let two-faced people get the better of me. After that, she left, and the whole audience started to make a fuss, while Amy's face turned pale. However, the real shocker was when Jose also came on stage. Me too. I don't want to be in a team with a liar. Then he walked away as Amy chased after him. The audience buzzed, and the organizers announced that this meant our team had automatically won the competition. I rushed home right after the awards ceremony to find Grandma ruminating in the garden. I quietly sat down next to her and put my hand on her shoulder to console her. She looked at me, gently smiled, and started telling me stories I'd never heard before. I discovered that she fell pregnant at 16 and dropped out of school. Her friends weren't very nice to her, so she'd never resumed her education. So now she had time, she decided to go back to school to experience her lost youth. That's why, Franny, you should never let others' mean words get to you. Cherish what you have, because there are still people who love that side of you. What she said was really touching, and it reminded me of Jose's compliments on my hair. Granny, so what about the Tinder account? Oh, I know you really like Jose, so I created an account to learn more about him so I could help you. Turns out, that profile picture was Grandma when she was younger, hence the similarity to me, and Moore actually was her maiden name. I hugged her and profusely apologized for my poor behavior. She gently patted my head, smiled, and said she'd take me to a secret spot. The next day, I returned to my naturally frizzy hair and put on the dress Granny gave me. It wasn't trendy, but it fit me perfectly, and weirdly, I felt kinda confident wearing it. My grandma and I happily walked into a book cafe when I spotted Jose. I've brought the person you're looking for here. We both looked at her with questioning eyes. You mean, turned out there was still one thing she hadn't told me, that the alias Moore she put up on Tinder was all based on my preferences, my hobbies, my habits, my taste in music, etc. She'd been collecting everything about me to text Jose. I had to let him know there's an interesting girl like our Franny out there, right? That was why Jose didn't feel as compatible with Amy. Then the intelligence round confirmed it, as he and the mysterious girl both had one thing in common, a passion for Sudoku. In the end, everything was cleared up. Grandma is still attending my school, and I actually don't mind it anymore. She brings in homemade cakes for me and my friends, tells us interesting stories about the old days, and gives out the best advice. Most importantly, she made me realize that being me isn't so bad, frizzy hair and all. Almost forgot. You're also wondering what happened between me and Jose, huh? Well, I think you should see for yourself.
It's almost the finish line. Just a little more. Come on, Bolt. We can make it. Yes, we've done it again. So, as you can see, the winner was me, Matilda, along with my horse, the heroic Bolt. This is our third win in a row already. Woohoo! It may only be a small hometown race with a modest prize, but it's still gonna go a long way in supporting my grandparents' farm. Now it's time for this guy to rest. Good boy, Bolt. You did amazing out there. A 16-hand stallion, healthy, glossy coat, and a well-mannered temperament. Geez, the horse dealers even follow me home now? I took a handful of hay, spun around, and hurled it at him. Go away! I don't want your stinking money. Bolt is not for sale. Right at that moment, my grandpa appeared.
Matilda, that is no way to speak to our guest of honor. I apologize for my granddaughter's behavior. She's a firecracker at times. Teenagers, you know. Anyway, it's dinner time. Please join us for a home-cooked meal right this way.
Huh? Guest of honor? Who could he be? Oh my god. It turns out the man was none other than Mr. Allen, the chairman of Allstellar Inc. Corp., the annual sponsor of my family's farm. I turned beet red and apologized profusely for being so rude to him.
No problem, kiddo. I like your spirit. I thought it'd be a good idea to check out the farm I'm sponsoring, and I stumbled upon the racing tournament. Oh boy, you sure can race, can't you, girl? Not many can handle a wet track at that speed. We have our reservations about her skipping school and competing in such dangerous races. But Matilda's insistent that she was a part of this family, so it's her responsibility to help us, her only remaining relatives.
Mr. Allen gave me this thoughtful look, then said,
How about this? The annual sponsorship for your grandparents' farm stays the same, and on top of that, you can move in with me and have a proper education.
Did I hear him right? I gasped. But who will take care of my grandparents? Sweetie, we still have our health. We can run this place just fine.
That's right, Maddie. Take your chance. Opportunities like this don't come twice.
But what about Bolt? I can't go without him.
Bring him along. I have a small horse farm where he can stay. You can help around the stables, and we can call it payment for your school fees, alright?
Well, I guess that's settled then. Yay! 1 week later, Mr. Allen sent his driver to pick me up, and the new chapter of my life started from here. Wait. Oh my god. This can't be it! Mr. Allen said it was a small horse farm, but this place, it's enormous. As soon as I stepped out of the car, a girl my age rushed over and hugged me. Matilda, you're finally here! I'm your new sister, Judy. I greeted her back with the widest smile. She seemed so sweet. She led me over to the front porch where Mr. Allen and a woman were waiting for me. It must be my new mom, but why was she giving me such a strange look? Before I could even introduce myself, she turned and walked into the house. Maybe she wasn't feeling very well. That evening, I dined on a lavish meal. We chatted lots, and the Allens seemed fascinated by my childhood life at the farm, especially Judy with her 10,000 questions. Sis, so, is it true that you have never seen your parents? Yeah, my father passed away in an accident before I was born, and my mom also left me when I was an infant. On hearing that, Judy gently comforted me while Mr. Allen smiled and said, Now, besides your grandparents, you also have us, your second family. You got a sister, a new dad here, and also your caring mom. Right, darling? Mrs. Allen flinched and dropped her fork. I immediately leaned over to ask, Mom, are you okay? But to my surprise, she just yelled at me. Don't call me that! Feeling flustered, I stared down at my plate. Had I done something wrong? Over the following days, I tried my best to get closer to Mom, but I was always met with coldness in return. One time, seeing Mrs. Allen was resting outside, I brought her an iced coffee. But as soon as she saw me coming over, she placed her hat over her face, pretending to be asleep. On another occasion, I complimented her dress, but she just tutted at me, then walked away. I really wanted her to like me, but it was useless. She clearly detested me. But at least I still have Judy and Dad by my side. Judy tried reassuring me that Mom was a good person and that she just needed a little more time to get to know me better. As for Dad, not only did he send me to a top school, but he also encouraged me to follow my passion. All the afternoons when I got to watch horse racing and bet on the winning horse with Dad were so much fun. And as I watched the horses gallop past, a thought crossed my mind. What if Bolt and I were the one on that track, winning the race and bringing back the huge prize money for my grandparents? I couldn't stop thinking about this. So one time, on the way back home from a race, I asked my dad if I could compete. And he didn't even hesitate to reply.
Why not? You do have a talent. How about give it a go?
Oh God, this was so exciting! My foster dad was the best, and I couldn't wait to give this my all and make him proud. After that, he immediately got me a personal coach and a dedicated team of trainers and groomers for Bolt. I'd never felt so happy, and Bolt had never looked so good. Everything was great, except that Mrs. Allen still seemed to have an issue with me. Every time I packed for practice, she always frowned and muttered stuff under her breath. Maybe she's irritated about the fact that an adopted child like me was receiving much more than I deserved, or something. But anyway, whether she liked it or not, with my talent, I'll quickly rise to be a brilliant rookie. One morning after practice, Judy came up to me and said, Matilda, can you teach me how to ride a horse? It might be a little scary for a first-timer. Are you sure you want to try? Yes, please. If I know how to ride, I can spend more time with Dad just like you do. I looked at her angelic, hopeful face. How could I say no? So I helped her onto Bolt and taught her how to hold the reins and do a few commands. It went smoothly at first, but suddenly Mrs. Ellen came out of nowhere and shouted, "What are you doing? Judy, come down right now." Startled, Judy misjudged her movements and tumbled off Bolt. As we both rushed over to check on her, Mrs. Allen pushed me aside, which caused me to fall onto my butt. "Do you know how important legs are to a ballet dancer? Are you intent on ruining her future?" Before I could reply, she shouted, "What an incompetent kid! Get out of my sight!" Ugh, it was just a few scratches and bruises. Why was she so serious about it? And incompetent? Huh, fine. I'd show her what an incompetent kid can do. From then on, I got my head in the game and continuously won several small and medium prizes. I sent most of my winnings to help out my grandparents and kept the rest to treat Judy and myself to something nice. One day after dinner, Dad called me into his office and told me that the two biggest races of the year, the Grand Shields and the Royal Silverford, were coming up in 2 weeks, and he'd already signed me and Bolt up for them. But the two races were only 1 week apart. That would be too much for Bolt, cause the latest race seemed to wear him out. I mentioned this to Dad, but he was adamant that Bolt would be able to manage it. I didn't want to let Dad down, but I didn't want to hurt Bolt either. I needed time to think about it. As I left the room, I gave a petrified jump. There, in front of me, was a stone-faced Mrs. Allen. She grabbed my arm and yanked me into another room. "You can't compete in the races. These are different from your usual amateur events. You're not good enough, and you'll only embarrass our family." Were you eavesdropping on my conversation with Dad? Listen, you're not my mother, so you can't tell me what to do. I will surely join it. Then I stormed out of there. Early in the morning of the first race, I was going to the stables to check on Bolt when I caught 2 of Mrs. Allen's servants sneaking out of there. What were they doing here? I went to investigate and... Huh? This is not Bolt. What has Mrs. Allen done to my horse? Right at that moment, Mr. Allen walked in with the vet. I told him what I'd just seen and he muttered out, "That woman dares to get in my way, huh? I'll make sure she'll pay for it this time." Then he turned to me and said, "Leave it to me. I'll find Bolt. Go get some rest and prepare yourself for the race." I'd never seen him this stern before, so I just nodded in concern. Despite all the drama, I still managed to bring home the Grand Shields Championship title. It's amazing, right? However, I couldn't fully enjoy the victory as one thing was still lingering on my mind. Mrs. Allen has been absent for the last 4 days. Could it be that Dad has done something to her? Hey, Judy, did Mrs. Allen say she was going somewhere? Dad told me that Mom's been so stressed lately, so he arranged for her to go to Aunt Anna's villa to rest. Oh, it seemed like what Dad said at that time was just an expression of anger. At least I had one less thing to worry about. You see, my main concern at the moment is Bolt, as his health has clearly deteriorated since the previous race. The vet says he's doing fine, but through Bolt's heavy breathing, I know something isn't right. A week passed by and the day of the second tournament finally arrived. While the vet was checking on Bolt before the race, Dad suddenly pulled me outside. "We must win today's match. I expect a lot from you." I had a bad feeling about this somehow, but I still nodded and assured him that I would do my best. The race was about to begin. Everything's in check. I'm ready for it. But wait. Why does Judy look so flustered? Maddie, Mom was not on a trip. The storage room. Dad locked her there because she found out what he was up to. He's doping Bolt. What is she talking about? Could it be that the vet who came in earlier was drugging Bolt then? But no way. If there's anyone wanting to harm me and Bolt, it's Mrs. Allen, not Dad. Listen, Mom only swapped Bolt the other time to protect you. Before I could shape what happened, I saw a burly man covering Judy's mouth and pulling her away. Then a voice whispered in my ear, "Only one game left. Just keep your mouth shut and do it properly. If you lose, I can make things very uncomfortable for you and your grandparents. Got it? Now get on the horse." A chill ran down my spine. I felt like I was gonna vomit. How could the caring, kind man I called Dad turn out to be such a fraud? The signal of the match rang out. Ugh, what should I do? I couldn't let that wicked man get what he wanted. So I closed my eyes and stayed put. What do you think you're playing at? Run! Run now! Mr. Allen went crazy and rushed over to me. But right at that moment, the organizer appeared and asked me to take Bolt for a health check. They led Bolt away and brought me and Mr. Allen to the office, where I was shocked to see a frantic-faced Mrs. Allen cuddling Judy. It turns out that Judy had freed her mom from the room Mr. Allen had locked her in. Then she'd come straight here and handed the organizers incriminating paperwork of her husband's corrupt doings. Mr. Allen glared at me and shouted, "I had to raise you without any benefits just because of her. Now it's your turn to pay me back." Then he immediately charged at me. But Mrs. Allen quickly covered for me and pushed him away. And one of the race organizers restrained him. "Don't you dare harm my daughter." "Huh? Daughter?" Mrs. Allen looked at me with tear-soaked eyes. "Sweetie, please give me a chance to explain." I fidgeted the coffee cup in my hand and stared at the ground while Mrs. Allen told me her side of the story. Turns out she really is my biological mom. Can you believe that? After my dad passed away, in her vulnerable state, she fell for Mr. Allen's forced charm and fake words. But he soon showed his real face and heartlessly separated me and my mom after they married. That's why she could only secretly send money to our farm under Mr. Allen's name. Mom also recognized me from the beginning, but she didn't say anything as she knew that Mr. Allen adopted me just to get Bolt, a horse that could help him win some shady bettings. If I knew the truth and rebelled against him, he would harm me. I'm so sorry for all these years, especially these past few months. It has been extremely hard for me, having to treat my dear daughter so badly. But that was the only way to push you away from him, from this rotten house. I didn't want you to be in danger, just like how your real dad was when he worked for him. Please forgive me, Matilda. Tears kept rolling down my cheeks. Turned out, I always had a mother protecting me. Mom pulled me in for a tight hug. Mom! I hugged my mother tightly. I really love and miss you. Please forgive me. I looked up to her and smiled. Of course, yes. I'm more than happy to have you back in my life, Mom. And the best sister I could ever wish for, too.
Wow, this cake tastes like heaven. I reached out to grab another piece when I heard a growl behind me. I told you to be graceful, didn't I? Then Mom pulled me over to greet this smartly dressed couple. Ugh, again. They looked me up and down, then said, "I heard that you're a gifted pianist. We would love to hear you play." Huh? Piano? I'd never played it before in my life. Before I could say a word, Mom chimed in. "Unfortunately, Phoebe's just sprained her wrist. Maybe next time." I looked at her confused. Why would she lie like that? Jeez. "Mom, why did you say that I could play the piano?" "Ah, yes. I may have bragged to them that all of my adopted children are excellent." What can I say? All moms boasted about their kids, right? And yep, I'd grown up in an orphanage before Mom welcomed me into her family. This place is pretty grand, huh? I found it overwhelming at first, and ended up getting lost trying to find my room. Luckily, there are plenty of my adoptive sisters around to show me where to go. I do have 10 of them. Yep, you heard me right. 10. It was as if I had just moved from one orphanage to another, only no more orphaned. And we're all similar ages, which is unusual, as foster parents often prefer younger kids. They said us teenagers are rather stubborn. Not to mention how my adoptive dad is never around. Seriously, I couldn't even tell you what he looks like. So it's just us girls here. I got on best with Collins. She's a couple of years older than me, and we share the same bedroom. As much as I liked living with Mom and my sisters, Mom did make us all do strange things, such as wear cheesy clothes and walk in a straight line. Worse still, she forced me to learn the piano. Ugh, I was not at all musical. I just made a right din. She also taught me how to eat properly, but it did kind of feel like a dog training session. I was only allowed to eat when she showed a signal, and by the time I could catch up with how to use the silverwares, the meal was already finished. Ugh. But I suppose that's how every mom teaches her daughter, right? And apparently, Mom didn't have the patience to coach me anymore. So she handed me over to Collins, her star daughter. We spent an hour every day talking together, or rather, she gave me pointers on how to talk correctly. Colin said I needed to control my volume because I had a tendency to shout my words and it wasn't very ladylike. I had to whisper at the same volume as her and also choose my words carefully to show intelligence and grace. Ugh, maybe it'd be easier if I just didn't say anything at all from now on. Aside from Collins, I didn't have a chance to get to know my other sisters as Mom made each of us pursue a different aptitude. Then we had to perform for her on our monthly assessment. Mom's overall very gentle and caring, but too strict when it comes to training. So we all have to spend a lot of time and effort in practice. One day I was trying to make sense of the music sheet when I heard Lexi complain, "Ugh, why does Mom force me on this mission impossible? So boring." What? At least ice skating is 1,000 times more fun than the piano. If only. An idea popped into my head. That night, I went to my mom and timidly said, "Mom, I want to switch from piano lessons to ice skating. I can exchange with Lexi. What? No. But why? Lexi doesn't even like ice skating. Well, it's because I can see potential in each one of you, so it's impossible to switch." Frustrated, I went back to my room and began whining to Collins, but she thought that it wasn't a big deal. Mom knows what's best for us. Well, that I'm not too sure about, yet we didn't even get to go to school. As Mom said, her homeschooling was enough. While I only found her method rather strange, I've dreamed of this perfect life with an amazing mom, but Mom was never very affectionate. It didn't matter how much we studied or tried to perfect our chosen hobby. She never cuddled or praised us, not even Collins, who's the smartest girl here. I was desperate to impress Mom, so one time I spent ages making this Portuguese appetizer for her, but all she did was take one bite and say it was okay. I asked her if she didn't like me, but she just replied in a growl tone that she was helping us to have a high position in society and a bright life. But I don't need those things. I just wanted her to like me. This place is so stuffy, and the only time that I can actually breathe is when I'm on my Friday morning bread buying errand. Ugh. Then suddenly someone patted me on my shoulder, which startled me so much I dropped my stuff. "Hey, it's really you. But is something wrong with you? Why the strange walk?" "The only thing I'm good at is buying bread, but now you've ruined it. See?" Jet stooped down to pick it up for me. He was still as rude as ever, but I still found myself jealous of this free spirit off him. We used to be a perfect match at our orphanage, and quite embarrassing to admit, but I was very naughty back then, and often shoplifted with him. "You could go steal some more. Remember our tricks?" I have to tell you 3 things. Firstly, I've been adopted. Secondly, my adoptive family is wealthy. And finally, I'm being educated to be a noble lady, so no more stealing. That's ridiculous. I also have 3 things for you. I've been adopted too. My parents love me so much. Oh, and they're cops. We looked at each other and burst out laughing. So we were both caught, weren't we? Jet and I sat down on a nearby bench to catch up, and when I poured my heart out about my new family, he interrupted me. "Sounds strange to me. Why would they only adopt teenage girls? And what are those training lessons and monthly evaluations for?" Then, Jet insisted that he would investigate my adoptive family. That's silly. But anyway, it's fun to reunite with a friend, and we agreed to hang out every Friday after that. And here comes my first assessment. Of course, I couldn't even play a simple melody, so I had to study for 3 more hours every day. My sisters suffered even more. Kinsley was forced to abstain from food because she weighed 2 kilograms more than the standard. In contrast, Willow had to eat continuously at night in order to gain 5 kilograms. If it's to this extent, then it must have not been simply for the sake of the casual boasting of a mom, right? On the next Bread Friday, I told Jet about last week's assessment. He firmly stated that there was a problem with my family. I don't think so, Jet. Mom just wants the best for us. Listen, Phoebe, I think she trained you guys on purpose. Each of you has to be good at a certain subject, just like the shopping orders. Orders? Don't go too far. You know Kobe beef? Cows are made to listen to music, given beer to drink, and massaged, but in the end, you know what the outcome is. Oh no. Is that what this is? Mom always said that she would give us the best life as long as we worked hard. Were we being tested and stamped like those cows? One day, I came home to Collins excitedly packing her suitcase. Mom said she's taking me to a new school tomorrow. So Collins was leaving? But where? I'll miss you, sis. Text me when you get there. But days passed without a word from her. I asked Mom, and she said that Collins' hard work paid off, and she'd been accepted into a prestigious school, but they had a strict no phones rule. Huh, that sounded sus. So I told Jet, and he insisted I report the case. Another Friday, Jet and I met at a church near the bakery. Why did he choose this boring place? I was looking around when I saw a group of schoolgirls coming out of the church. They all wore the same dull uniform, had their hair neatly tied back in a bun, and all obediently lined up. Then there I saw her. Collins? I was about to rush over to greet her, but the glare of the woman accompanying her scared me off. This was not right. I'd got to ask Collins what was going on. So I grabbed Jet's arm and went after the group. But they got into a black car and sped away. Maybe they chose this church as a place for their transactions. Smart, huh? They put everyone in school uniforms so no one would suspect them. But seeing those faces, I'm sure they're about to be sent to the black market soon. Black market? The thought alone made me shudder. I had to save Collins. I couldn't let Mom get away with this. That night, I tiptoed downstairs to eavesdrop. Okay, I'll deliver her this weekend. Correct. She's 5'7". She can ice skate, cooking and painting. Of course, I have her trained as required. You won't be disappointed. So the deal goes as planned, okay? See you on Sunday. That's it. The next delivery was Lexi. I checked her room and saw her packing her stuff, a beam of innocent happiness on her face. I quickly texted Jet, and he immediately replied, "Just wait at home calmly. Don't act without thinking. I'll figure something out." That night, I couldn't sleep a wink. I was so terrified something terrible would happen to Lexi. So early the next morning, as soon as I saw Mom and Lexi getting in the car to leave, I snuck into the trunk, lay there without making any sound, and sent Jet the location. The car took a long time to stop. Had we finally arrived at the transaction location? When it seemed safe, I carefully climbed out and saw Mom talking to a fastidious-looking middle-aged woman. What did Mom say that made Lexi so panicked that she kept clutching Mom's hand? The woman handed Mom a rather thick envelope, then grabbed Lexi's hand and dragged her away. God, where was Jet? I couldn't just sit still like this and watch my sister being taken away. Let Lexi go! Now! Phoebe, what are you doing? Stop it. You're going to sell us, aren't you? I already know the truth. What on earth are you talking about, Phoebe? Furious, Mom pulled me away. Stop. Suddenly, 2 cops rushed in, ordering everyone to put their hands up. Behind them was Jet, still panting. Turns out they were Jet's adoptive parents. Help me! Mom is trying to sell me and my sister. Seeing that, the other woman quickly explained, No, there must be a misunderstanding here. I'm just helping Gianna's daughter to enroll at my school. Bewildered, my eyes darted from Mom to the other woman and then to Jet. In the principal's office, I told everyone why I thought my mom was a human trafficker. They all gasped in surprise. I made you practice that hard just because I want you to get in here, the most prestigious all-girls school, so that you can have a better life. I don't want to go to this school anymore, Mom. She told me all about the harsh rules. This place is terrifying. You can't force your kids to do that. You adopted them, so you have to make them feel safe and loved. Miss Gianna, this is a prestigious school, and it doesn't need your scandal. You led me to believe that your daughters were naturally gifted, which now transpires is all lies. I won't accept any child from your family from now on. No, they're my children. They deserve the best. Then she begged the principal to withdraw her decision, but she firmly shook her head. Suddenly, Mom shouted, Why? I just want them not to suffer like me. So what's wrong with that? Then Mom burst into tears. It turns out that in the past, Mom was in love with a politician. But he decided it would further his career if he chose to marry a graduate from this prestigious school instead. Mom loved him so much, she continued to be his mistress. But despite being fully provided for by him, Mom always felt that she was inferior to his official wife, especially when he proudly boasted about his smart wife and talented daughters. Then, when she wanted to start her own family, he wouldn't allow it. In the end, she decided to adopt girls and train them to become excellent so that they could enter this school regardless of their background. So that's the reason why she did this to us. I have to admit, I did feel a bit sorry for her. All of this was probably just to ease the pain of her past. But Mom, we don't want to go to this snooty school. We just want you to love us and protect us. I'm sorry. I was wrong. I was only trying to help. I'm sorry. It's all my fault. Then she hugged me. So, in the end, my sisters and I finally have a truly happy family. Mom doesn't make us do any dumb tasks anymore. Instead, she lets us pursue our own dreams and passions. Now we all go to a public school and live out our normal teen lives. It's wonderful finally having an amazing mom, incredible sisters, and my pretty awesome best friend, Jet, all by my side.
Oh God! Can I not save one from the pitiless wave? Is all that we see or seem but a dream within a dream? According to the poet, this world and all existing life is an illusion of sorts. As reality doesn't exist, philosophers refer to it as dream argument and dream hypothesis. What? What an interesting lesson! By the way, look at how there's a ray of sunshine coming through the curtains. That's so pretty. This kind of weather indeed puts you in such a dreamy mood, huh? Yeah, right. But remember, there is no rose without thorns. That sunshine may look glorious, but it will harm your eyes. Yeah, I know. The maids always tell me that sunlight is the enemy for me, for my beautiful, sensitive blue eyes. Looking at it once, and I'll never be able to see anything again. That's why I've never been allowed to leave this castle. My maids all look identical in those masks, don't they? When I was a child, of course, I once got curious, and I pulled one of them off. As punishment, I was denied dessert for a whole week. And worse still, it wasn't worth it, as the maid's face was exceedingly ordinary. The masks looked far better. Anyway, I suppose all that matters is that they take great care of me. Each day they bring me food, water, and new clothes. I was sipping my leek and potato soup when I heard a scream. Let me out! Curious, I went and hid in a corner and saw two maids attempting to lock the screaming girl into a room. I've never seen that girl in this castle before. I wonder if she's from the outside world. Poor her. It looks like she can't control herself. The world out there is scary. Perhaps it has sent her into madness. It's much safer here in the castle. I can play all day, paint, knit, and read. Oh, how peaceful. But I still couldn't stop thinking about that poor girl. I wonder what will happen to her. The screaming didn't stop, and my curiosity got the best of me, so I snuck into the girl's room. Shh! Stop screaming! No one is listening. Who are you? My name is Mistress. What's yours? Mistress isn't a name. Are you stupid? It's just a name. Everybody here calls me that. This girl was so stubborn. She seemed to be wary of everything. Poor little outside world girl. After much persistence, she told me that her name was Nora. I was about to ask her why she was here, when suddenly 2 maids appeared and dragged me away. Mistress, you should not interact with this wicked girl, and you mustn't be late for your embroidery class. It was nice to finally get to talk to a girl my own age, and I must admit that given her brash nature, I found Nora rather interesting. During class, I kept thinking about how I could sneak out and see her again. Ah! Ouch! That annoying girl's screaming made me prick my finger. I ran out to check on her, but the maids immediately blocked my way. Perhaps I could talk some sense into her. Trust me, the last time I spoke to her, she was acting totally normal. The desperate maids exchanged looks, then let me go to her. As predicted, when I approached Nora, she stopped screaming. Hey, it's Ariana. That's my real name. Screaming never works here. Just pretend you're listening to my words, then I'll help you out. The maids were quite surprised when Nora immediately calmed herself down and showed signs of following directions, so they let us be and left. We began to chat, and ever since then, the maids let me see Nora every day. She told me how before her mother died, she gave Nora an address to find her biological father, who she'd never met before. Nora's grandma helped her set up a meeting with him and took her to the meeting point. She was so nervous, but happy at the same time to finally meet her dad. And at first, he was as kind and charming as she imagined. But then unexpectedly, right after they said goodbye to her grandma, he brought Nora here and let those masked people lock her up. But you're fortunate to be here, as it's safe. No, it's not. That's just what they want you to believe. Then Nora told me about the outside world, about her friends, school, and shopping malls. Every day, she even drew me paintings of the outside world, of beautiful memories with her family, her mom who passed away, and also her dad, even though she only met him once. Family? What is that? All I'd ever known were the faceless maids. The next day when I visited Nora as usual, she suddenly told me, "Sis, we need to get out of here." What do you mean? This is my home. No, it's not. It's a prison. Who on earth stays inside for 14 years, huh? It's because of my eyes. I'll go blind if I go out there. My maids only want the best for me. That's why they keep me here. Are you crazy? You've been tricked. Just think about it. Do you know who gave birth to you? And why did that person leave you with these people? Or are these people the ones who took you away from your mom? Don't you want to find out the truth? This was my home, wasn't it? But thinking about what Nora just said, as well as the outside world that she rambled about every day, I suppose it would be interesting to experience it for myself. I'd just have to try my best to protect my eyes. So, I snuck into the housekeeper's room and stole the front door key. As we approached the main hall leading to the door, we saw a masked woman standing by a man. In his arms was a young girl, deep asleep. Huh? That's my dad. What? Did he come to pick you up or something? Don't you see that they're all in the same boat? And she's the ringleader. I peered closer at them and spotted the masked woman's silver hair and luxurious dress. Isn't that my tester? She lives in the Grand Suite and visits me weekly to assess my learning and etiquette.
Mom, how are you going to handle this case? Just leave her in the empty room at the end of the hallway. As for Nora, I think she'll settle in properly in a week or so. Then we can start her etiquette and culture lessons. Which Nora? Ah, I remember. Besides, you should restrict yourself a bit. Ariana, Nora, and now this child? Don't let the list of your illegitimate children be as long as your arm. Then you can just throw them away somewhere. Why bother raising them? They are my grandchildren, after all. They can't end up like those street rats. And who knows? They may become useful. But this has to be the last one. We can't risk Laura finding out about us. It would ruin our family's affluent name. Do you understand? I know, but fear not, as my wife is kind and foolish. She is completely clueless to these matters, thanks to your smart move.
So, we were this heartless man's illegitimate children? And because of his deceit, he was forcing us to live in darkness? I don't want to be locked up and lied to any longer. We needed to escape. From then on, Nora kept her act up and behaved like an angel, which eventually led to us being allowed to study together. And today is the day. Oriana is having a convulsion! We must take her to the hospital as soon as possible! However, the maids called the doctor to come round here instead. No! The plan was to escape when we were taken outside. If the doctor came here, he'd discover that my rashes were painted on and our plan would be disclosed. Okay, plan B. I was still lying on the bed playing the whole role of a patient, while Nora locked the door of the room and went to the bathroom screaming. Help! There's a giant spider in here! As expected, the doctor went to check. Then Nora immediately locked him in. Then we quickly took the knotted string made of the fabrics and embroidery class out from under the bed and then escaped through the window. Ah! I got my head between my hands as soon as I landed. I didn't expect it to be so bright outside. It's burning my eyes, Nora! What? There's no time for your hysterics. You'll be done if you're stuck here anyway. Just open your eyes and run! Hurry up! But I'm scared! Huh? Nothing happened. My eyes seemed fine. But no time to celebrate, as then I saw... Oh my God. A couple of maids were chasing after me. Nora pulled my hand and ran towards the garden. Fortunately, we were already out of their sight when... Woof, woof! A huge hound appeared out of nowhere and growled at us. I crouched down in a bush and watched Nora wave the dog closer, and then pat him. What? Magic! The dog suddenly became unusually obedient and led us to a secret place. A dog-sized passageway. I hesitated, but seeing the maids gaining on us, I reluctantly squeezed through it real quick. I can't believe I'm putting my destiny in the hands of this reckless girl. She said we had to get to her grandmother's house right away for help. What are those things running back and forth on the road? Why are they making that loud, annoying noise? And why is Nora waving her arms about? Did she want them to stop? Too bad nobody did, as she's no princess. We kept wandering until we saw something which Nora called a truck parked on the roadside. She rushed over, then helped me onto the back of it. Oh, it was full of bananas. I stuffed my mouth full of them to ward off my starvation, while the scenery kept changing. That thing stopped, and we immediately got off before getting caught. I held her tight, frightened of all the people around us. They kept staring at me. And what kind of style was that? They all looked very peculiar. Maybe they were just commoners. Then we used our power to demand a man to take us to Nora's grandma's. Oh, it was exhausting. What? The outside is actually beautiful, sparkling with all those lights. And there are exhibitions of everything in the world, such as food, toys, flowers, and even creatures. Yes, everything! But the most important thing was that my eyes didn't get sore looking at those shiny things at all. Nora's grandma seems kind, but her home is full of the strangest of items. While Nora told her what had happened, I found myself bewitched by the talking black box on the wall. Suddenly, Nora's grandma led us to her far smaller truck and took us to somewhere called the Cops. They all wore these same funny outfits and bombarded us with dozens of confusing questions. And what exactly is an ID card? A few days later, there was news that the cops had caught my so-called dad, grandma, and maids also. As predicted, he was a womanizer. So when his lovers asked him to support his children, he was so afraid that his wife would find out that he took these children and locked them away in the castle. They're currently awaiting something called a trial, which Nora says is where bad people get their comeuppance. Whoa! The world outside is so busy. I didn't realize there'd be so many unmasked faces. And that strange talking box still startles me, especially when someone is holding a weapon. Nora says when I've adjusted to my new life a little more, I'll start school with her. And one day I'll even learn how to drive one of those smaller trucks. But firstly, she's teaching me how to dress like other people do, and use this brick to communicate with them. This world is puzzling, but I'm sure with Nora's help, I'll soon find my feet. Even if it's just so I can learn how to reply to my dashing neighbor. I wonder what's taking Valerie so long. She's been in that changing room for ages. Valerie? Is everything okay in there? Don't force it if it doesn't fit. No, this is the last dress in store. I just need to breathe in for a bit longer. So? It's beautiful, isn't it? Valerie spun around. Then suddenly, yep, trying to squeeze into a dress 2 sizes too small for her, and it split. The giggles around us started. Valerie blushed, hurriedly paid for the dress, and pulled me out of the shop. Why am I so fat? Ugh! I just want to feel pretty on my date. If I was skinny like you, I wouldn't have this problem. Poof! You know, it's not as easy as you think being thin. Yep, you heard me right. Being thin has its downsides. First of all, fashion. My nightmare. I have to wear an extra small size, and the clothes still hang off me. Actually, most of my clothes are from kids' stores, so I feel so untrendy. Then in winter, I have to wear tons of layers just so I don't freeze to death. And in the summer, I can't wear cute clothes as I look like a coat hanger. Not only that, because I'm so skinny, people often ask me to do nonsense stuff. Once, I was studying in my room when suddenly I heard my sister Camilla calling me. She'd forgotten her keys and forced me to climb through her tiny window gap to get them. Seriously, I can't even. Then, on another occasion, Valerie made me crawl into the classroom locker to help her cheat on her Spanish test. Unfortunately, the teacher walked in while this was happening and gave me a week's worth of detentions, of course. Ugh! Oh my god, No Way Home is so good. I literally can't think of one bad thing to say about it. Yep, the part near the end. Ah! Yep, guess what? I'd managed to trap my foot in a manhole. Man, what rotten luck. I tried pulling my leg free, but it was no use. It wouldn't budge. There I was, freaking out that I'd be stuck here forever, and all my friends could do was huddle together and ask me questions like, Madeline, how on earth did you get your foot in such a small slot? Wow, that's unbelievable. Even Jaden, my bookworm friend, took out a ruler from his backpack and started measuring how wide the slot was. Grr. My dear friends, I'm being stuck down here. Stop gawping and help me. Finally, they tried helping me out, but in the end, we had to call the rescue squad. By this point, a massive crowd had gathered around me, and strangers were filming me. When I was finally free, everyone looked at me and held back their laughter. Even Parker, my crush, was smiling. Geez, this was beyond embarrassing. But a hot guy like Parker would never notice a moving skeleton like me anyway. Don't think like that, Maddie. You're so pretty. Show me some confidence, would you? Valerie said as she nudged my arm. I put the book down and glared at her, and suddenly noticed Parker walking towards our table, smiling. And yep, he said he wanted to sit with us. Even though I was cheering inside of my head, I still had to act composed. And oh my god, can you believe he even said I was cute? After that day, Valerie kept on encouraging me, saying he had definitely given me a green light. So finally, I gathered my courage to write down all my feelings for Parker on a note and clipped it to his notebook. At the end of class that day, he came to my desk and took my hand. Yay! Everything was fine, great even, until one day when the two of us were taking a romantic walk past the Swan Lake, Parker suddenly turned to me and said, You're so beautiful, Maddie. And if you just put on a few more pounds, I swear you'll be the hottest girl at school. Yes, I know, but it's hard for me to gain weight. No big deal. Just leave it to me. I'll fatten you up. I thought Parker was just joking, but it turns out he was being deadly serious. Since that day, every time we went on a date, instead of taking me to the bowling alley and movies as usual, Parker would take me out to eat. I swear, I've tried all the restaurants in our town. More surprisingly, on my birthday, Parker even gave me a bouquet a fried chicken. How romantic! But this didn't change anything, as my weight still stayed the same. Parker was disappointed when he peered over me and saw the scales hadn't budged. Then he sighed out.
How come you and Valerie are friends, but look totally opposite? Here comes our adorable, chubby Valerie.
What? Parker called Valerie adorable again. This wasn't the first time either. Annoyed, I put down my fork and walked away from them. After that, I started avoiding Valerie. I did homework with other friends, sat with other girls at lunch, and every time I happened to see Valerie, I turned around and walked away. Honestly, I didn't want it to be this way, but just seeing her made me uncomfortable. But I couldn't bear to see my boyfriend call my BFF cute, while he thought I was too skinny. Then summer break finally rolled around. I thought it'd be just me and Parker, but then he went off to a summer camp in Spain. The plan was all ruined. So I spent a whole sunny day inside sulking. What's wrong? Are you bored because your lover is away? So why don't you take this time to surprise him when he returns? Surprise? A great idea popped into my head. But how do I get chubby? Easy peasy. Okay, if it's that easy, then show me. Okay, if you do my summer homework for me. What? She's such an opportunist. But I really wanted to pile on the pounds and please Parker. So, without hesitation, I nodded in agreement. So, from that day on, I started following Camilla's weight gain plan. I switched veggies for greasy foods, and my main meal was always late at night. I also changed water for milkshakes, but I did have to stop drinking them when the smell of milk alone made me feel sick. Seeing me eating crazy like that, my parents worriedly said,
Madeline, eating healthily is important, else your health will be affected.
But I ignored their advice. This time, I definitely had to gain weight. Finally, after a month of trying, I gained some weight. Yay! I looked a lot more attractive now, didn't I? I was studying myself in the mirror when I heard my phone beep. It was Parker. He was coming over tomorrow with a present for me. The next day, I put on this hot dress that I'd never felt confident enough to wear before, and I asked Camilla to help me do my makeup. As soon as I finished, I eagerly waited for Parker in the living room. The doorbell rang. I excitedly opened the door, but as soon as he saw me, Parker quickly said,
Oh, sorry, I have the wrong house.
Then he started to leave. Huh? He didn't recognize me? This will be fun. No, honey, you're not mistaken. It's me, your Destiny.
Madeline? Is that really you? Oh my, how on earth can you be this big? We've only been apart for a month.
So, you don't think I'm prettier now? To my surprise, Parker shook his head.
No, you're so fat now. It doesn't look okay. Lose some weight.
Huh? This was so confusing. I thought he wanted me to be bigger. As annoying as this was, I still listened to Parker and tried to lose the weight I'd put on. So it turns out that losing weight is far trickier than it sounds. Actually, it's 1,000,000 times harder to lose it than it is to gain it. After a month of healthy eating and exercise, I gained another pound. Ugh!
Stop eating that. Are you giving up already? You must try harder.
What? It's just some popcorn. Why does he have to be so rude about this?
I'll give you 2 weeks to lose weight. Else we're done.
Huh? What did he just say? Done? He was the one who wanted me to gain weight in the first place. Now he was threatening to break up with me if I didn't lose it. How ridiculous. You know what? I don't need 2 weeks. Let's end it right now. It's clear you never loved me at all. You only like my appearance. If you truly cared about me, You wouldn't care what size I was. Then I walked off. Ugh! How could I have been so stupid? For the entirety of my relationship with that jerk Parker, I was blindly following him. I only cared about pleasing him, and it cost me so many things, including my best friend. I needed to apologize to her right away. I nervously knocked on the door, then waited. Finally, Valerie opened it, but on seeing me, she went to shut it. I'm so sorry. Just let me explain, please. Valerie, I'm so sorry. It was all because I was afraid Parker would leave me for you. But I realize now that he's a massive jerk, and I was an idiot for ever trying to change for him. Jeez, you're crazy. Parker is totally not my type. I scratched my head and told her about how terrible Parker had treated me and how I'd foolishly listened to him. Man, that douchebag! Then she hugged me. Valerie confessed to me that she'd been trying to lose weight by lowering her calorie intake, but the pounds weren't coming off. And worse still, she felt weak and tired all the time. I nodded in agreement with her. So, from then on, Valerie and I made a promise to love ourselves, regardless of what size we were, and to never let anyone try and change us. And look, that's Walker and Joel, our awesome boyfriends who love us just the way we are. And you know what? It feels so good not caring what other people think. So don't ever let idiots put you down. 'Cause when you allow yourself to just be you, then you can finally realize just how beautiful you truly are.
Finally, I'm out of that morbid place. Now let me tell you, sharing a cell with a dozen other noisy, stinky, grumpy dudes ain't fun. Anyway, here I am, free as a bird now. So no one's here to pick me up. Suppose I'd have to call Mom. It took me a few seconds to familiarize myself with my phone. Jeez, it'd been 4 years. It was a miracle I hadn't turned into one of those leg-cradling crazy dudes. How I ended up in there in the first place was a joke. All I did was take some stuff from 1 or 2 warehouses and sell them on. No big deal. Yo, Mom, it's your boy Cole. I'm out, and yeah, I need a lift home. I spoke the moment I heard Mom's voice. Cole, Do you have any idea what hell your actions have put your mother through? My dad was so good at overreacting, but I needed somewhere to stay, so I could handle him. But Dad, Mom, come on, I'm still your son. You have the heart to see me homeless and sleeping next to rats? There was a brief pause. Then Dad grunted, You can stay for a few weeks, but only for your mother's sake. Thanks, Dad. You're the man. Bingo. My parents were like putty in my hands. This was the life. I played video games all day, then partied all night. Then one night, I was getting ready to meet my friend Moose, when Mom told me that the pizza delivery guy was at the door. I shouted down to her, You can shout me this one, and I'll get the next. I finished getting ready, and I must say, I was looking smooth. I strode down into the kitchen and grabbed a slice of pizza. Dad was sitting there glaring at me over his report. If you can't afford to pay for items, then I suggest you don't order them. He looked at the pizza slice in my hand. Mom walked up behind him and placed her hands on his shoulders. Darling, give him some more time. He's still adjusting to outside life. Thanks, Mom. You're the greatest. I gave her a greasy pizza kiss on the cheek. Any chance you can lend me some dough? Dad shook his head and sighed, while Mom went over to her purse and passed me some money. Hey, there'd be plenty of time to get a job and be responsible. Right now, I had 4 years of lost time to make up for. Once, I borrowed Dad's car. I swear I only had a couple of beers, but the world glitched out and went all blurry. The next thing I know, I'd driven straight into the neighbor's front yard. Oops. I opened my eyes the next morning to a killer headache, so all I wanted was some black coffee and a plate full of bacon. But I got Dad's death stare instead. Just when I think you can't get any more irresponsible, you took my car without asking, drank too much, then drove into Gloria's beloved rose bushes. Chill out, Dad. I'll fix it later, I said as I raided the fridge for food. You're not the one having to pay for the damages. We've made our decision. You have 1 week to get out of our house. Now hold up. I had 0 places to go. I couldn't stay with Moose as he was crashing in his sister's garage, and I didn't know anyone else. How could they? I gotta chill a bit, so I pulled out my phone and started scrolling through dating apps. Then I matched with this stunning blonde called Trudy. She's a little older than me, but her family is rolling in dough, and also, she has her own business. Not only that, but she's hotter than an agitated dragon. So yeah, her photos seemed a little grainy, but guess the retro trend was in. Looks like I had it both ways, love and money. I have quite a face. But since I love beer and pizza, and without any dedication for the gym, I don't have the perfect body. But I needed to keep this girl interested. So I told her I was a tall dude with an impressive six-pack, who just graduated and was on the lookout for a girl with brains as well as beauty. This girl was actually pretty easy to talk to. She sent me pictures of her latest purchases, like phones, expensive watches, and designer clothes, along with the promise that when we started dating in person, she'd buy me whatever I wanted. Result: after 4 days of face pics and my priceless conversation, Trudy was smitten, and she sent me a message saying, "Cole, I haven't known you long, but I know how I feel. I love you. X." Okay, that's really fast, but yeah, I've won the lottery over here. Hey, maybe she lied about her look too, but it didn't matter. She's rich. So I replied to her, "I know, babes. I feel it too. X." We immediately arranged to meet in person and decided on a yellow dress code. I looked around the park trying to spot this gold mine, but all I could see was some old lady in a yellow dress. Okay, coincident, but why is she heading my way? The closer she got toward me, the wider her grin was. Cole, right? It's me, Trudy. What? No. How come this corny, overweight, wrinkly old lady be Trudy? I was expecting the blonde beauty from the photos, not Big Bird. Once I got over the initial shock, we sat down and talked. Turns out my dream girl was in her 50s. All the descriptions and photos of her were true, but 30 years ago. She was clearly in the middle of a midlife crisis or something. "You're not the same either," she sneered. "You're barely taller than me. And where's the gym body?" All right, fair enough. I fake smiled. "Yeah, despite you looking different, I still find you very beautiful." That night, I tossed and turned. This was all so unexpected. Trudy was totally not my type. But dating her might not hurt. She was rich. And also, I had to move out tomorrow. So at least she'd pay for me. With that, I sent her a message. "Babe, you're beautiful, and I want to make us official. X." The next day, I moved in with Trudy. Now, let me tell you something. Her apartment was lavish. It was full of the latest tech. Crazy. Seeing as she was so old, she probably didn't know how to use them. She worked a lot, so most of the time I was home alone. And I was free to watch cartoons and movies, munch on potato chips, and play as many video games as I felt like. One time, I was watching a movie when the door opened. And in stepped this glary-eyed dude. I shouted at him, "Hey dude, you have the wrong apartment." He tutted and said, "I can assure you that I don't. I'm Alex, Trudy's son, and you must be Cole. I would say it's a pleasure to meet my mother's gold-digging boyfriend in the flesh, but unfortunately, it's not." What? Trudy has a son? And by the looks, he's even older than me. And how dare he called me a gold digger? I suppose I was, but still, he had no right to call me it. Even worse, he refused to leave. He just sat in the kitchen and waited for his mom to return. Then he had a heated argument with her in which he referred to me as a loser and a bum. Things weren't any better with my parents either. Dad told me to be independent and get a real job, not a sugar mama. And Mom was just crying. Whatever. This was their fault for kicking me out in the first place. What did they expect me to do? Live under a bridge? Few days after I met Alex, Trudy insisted on dragging me along to his lame work launch thing. As soon as I got there, I went straight to the food. I was stuffing a mini quiche into my mouth when this girl walked up alongside me and said, "Great minds think alike." I gave her a gormless look. Then she pointed at the food. We both headed straight for the food. I laughed at that. This girl was funny. And hot. Really hot. Her name is Beatrice, and she works for that loser Alex. After that, I started seeing a lot more of this Beatrice girl, as she often popped over with Alex, and while he was arguing with his mom, usually about me, I chatted to her. That was how I found out she wasn't having it easy either. She was behind on her rent because her truant brother had stolen the money and spent it all. I felt bad for her, so I took the envelope full of cash that Trudy had given to me, and I handed it to her. Okay, so I wouldn't be able to buy anything new for a few weeks, but it was worth it just to know that she'd be okay. Truth was, I was really falling for Beatrice, but I couldn't do anything about it, as I was with Trudy, and I was relying on her handouts. Soon, things became stinky. I came out of the shower to see Trudy standing there with my phone in her hand. "How could you?" she threw it at me. Yeah, so she'd read all of the messages I'd sent to Moose, saying how I didn't find her remotely attractive and I was only with her for a free ride. "Trudes, my babes, come on, those messages were just me joking," I laughed. "I was just messing around." "Shut up, you liar! You find me hideous. Alex was right. You were only using me for my money, and worse, you never went to college. Instead, you were in jail." I was about to lay on the cold charm when Alex and Beatrice bursted into the room. Alex shouted at me, "How lowlife you are! What a shameless gold digger! It's appalling. I've told her to report you to the cops." Beatrice interrupted. "No, don't do that. What Cole did was wrong, but he's not all that bad. Please." I was so moved. Took a look around. Trudy was crying. Alex was so furious his eyes were bulging. And Beatrice, well, she just looked disappointed. I then packed my stuff and left in shame. Well, that was a few months ago, and I have a decent job now. Even though I live back at home, I pay my way, and I'm saving up to put a deposit down on my own place. I never should have used Trudy like that. She might be old, but she still has feelings, and the way I treated her wasn't right. I was undeniably a douchebag back then. All I want is to have a happy life with Beatrice. I really love her, which is why I asked her to be my girlfriend, but she rejected me. Man, it stung, but I'm not giving up. Perhaps she might give me a chance once she sees I've changed. I can't fix the past. All I can do now is improve myself and keep on rolling forward.